This is the Louie T Network. You are now officially in the lab room. It's that time again. It's that time again to go hard in the off season, cause we trying to win. We gon' go so hard, we don't take no days off. Hopefully one day it's all gonna pay off.
Hey yo, who else could it be? Me, your me, Louie T. Welcome to the 2017 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series, where your man Louie T aims to break down all 32 teams in the National Football League's 2017 NFL Draft using our baseball grading scale, single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts here in the Draft Wrap-Up Series. We cannot tell how these players are going to pan out. I don't want to discount any of these young men before they get their chance in the National Football League. And so we will give each and every single player selected by X said team in the draft a score using that baseball grading scale. We will then apply bonuses when necessary, divide by the number of picks. After tallying up all of those points, we will get an overall grade for that team's draft. We'll then move on to the next team in the series picked by you. That's right, you, the viewer out there, are in total control, as this is the you pick format, or as I like to call it, the up format, where you simply need to be the first in the comment section to leave two things: the team you'd like to see next and the phrase next. So this is very simple. An example would be Falcons next, Atlanta next. All of that counts. Next, Falcons, all of that is within bounds as long as the phrase next and the team you'd like to see next is in the comment and you are first. Remember, do not put a team up that has already been done. We're still kind of young in the process, so that shouldn't be that big of an issue. However, it has happened in the past, so want to remind you, do not put a team up that has already been, or we'll go to the next person in this series who was able to get next and the team they'd like to see next up. So let's move on to the team that you guys have picked and you have spoken, and the Los Angeles Rams are up next in the series. And this is a team that did not have a first round pick because of the trade they made last year to go up and select quarterback Jared Goff out of Cal. And so no first round selection, but I thought it was a really strong draft by Les Snead and company. Look, Les Snead is on the hot seat after Jeff Fisher was fired last season, and you started to see some of the makings and the rumblings and grumblings of maybe a front office cleaning as well. I thought he's done a really good job of acquiring talent. Now it's all about getting these talented football players on one accord and getting victories out of this football team. And I think this is another crop of players. And with that new coaching staff in place, I think they've got everything they need to become a contender in the NFC West. Let's talk about this 2017 NFL draft for this Los Angeles Rams football team and why I think this is a strong draft that's going to help them go from the cellar potentially in the NFC, not just West, but conference, to one of the better teams in all of the NFC conference. And now it's going to take some time, but it's drafts like this that I think could help them be on their way to turning things around in Los Angeles. We start in the second round, 44th overall selection. South Alabama tight end Gerald Everett is the selection. This is a guy that I broke down in the Draft Prospects 101 series. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, please by all means do so. I'm not going to break him down here because I've already done a thorough job of that in the Draft Prospects 101 series. So go to my playlist and check that video out if you're looking for an extensive breakdown of Gerald Everett and what he brings to the table for this Rams football team. But I will say this, to me, without a doubt, without a question, he is the most elusive tight end out in space in this draft. He has the most make you miss out of any tight end. That includes David Njoku. That includes a first round pick like Evan Ingram. That includes any guy you want to throw in, OJ Howard, anybody in this draft. No one makes guys miss out in space. No one has that basketball-esque finesse type of movement skills like Gerald Everett possesses in this draft. And to me, he's got the athleticism, he's got the size, he's got that basketball background, he's got everything you're looking for him to be the next Antonio Gates, the next Jordan Reed. And I think that's exactly what your head coach, Sean McVay, is looking for him to be in this offense. His version of Jordan Reed. And I think Gerald Everett is the perfect man for the job. Love this selection. I talked about him very effusively in my draft Prospects 101 series. And so without any further ado, in the second round, 44th overall selection, South Alabama tight end Gerald Everett is hit on. He's hit deep. You can put him on the board. Yes, it's a home run for the Los Angeles Rams in the second round of the 2017 NFL Draft with the selection of tight end Gerald Everett. I didn't think he was going to go off the board this early, but the guy is a playmaker for a team that's lacking dynamic offensive weapons and playmakers. This is a guy that can come in and day one be a dynamic offensive weapon for a team lacking in that department. You go to, speaking of offensive weapons and a team lacking them, go to the third round, 69th overall selection. Eastern Washington wide receiver Cooper Kupp is the selection. Here's another guy that I broke down in the Draft Prospects 101 series. So again, if you haven't had a chance, check that video out as well. So I'm not going to break him down here again, but I will say this is a guy that I really am a huge fan of. I'm excited to see what he brings to the table because he played at a smaller school at Eastern Washington, didn't play against a great level of competition. So the word out on the street is, how will he fare? Is he a guy that can get open and be as productive? One of the greatest receivers in college football history. No matter of what division, this is a guy that was that prolific at Eastern Washington. And so the question is, can he be that productive at the next level? Can he get open? Can he make the plays that he made at Eastern Washington? I don't know the answer to that, but I can tell you this much. The guy can play football. The guy can catch the football. The guy is a gamer. I love his skill set. Love what he brings to the table. In the third round, 69th overall selection, Eastern Washington wide receiver Cooper Kupp for me is a triple. The only thing stopping this young man from getting a home run from me is the fact that I just don't know how the level of competition translates. I know he can play football. I know he can get open. I know he can win. I know he can catch the football, but how well can he do all of those things with better competition in front of him? But one thing's for certain, this is a guy that can catch the football. He's going to win. He's going to help you, whether he's in the slot, he's out wide. Cooper Kupp is going to make plays, and that's something that the Rams currently lack on their football team. And so your first two picks in this draft address big needs on the offensive side of the football. You went out on the free agent market and went and fortified the offensive line. You went out and you did some things to help you get better. You go out, you get a receiver from the Buffalo Bills, a guy that can come in and help you. You go get a tight end that's a big-time tight end that can help you in the passing game. Go get another receiver to complement Robert Woods and some of the guys you already have, Tavon Austin, on this roster. All of a sudden now things are starting to shape up for this Rams offense. Let's move to the defensive side of the football. In the third round, once again, 91st overall pick, Boston College safety John Johnson is the selection. And in a very deep crop of corners and safeties, a guy like John Johnson can get lost in the sauce. And I think this is one of those guys we overlook because of all the big shiny names in this draft. This is a guy that you shouldn't sleep on. I'm going to tell you why here. Let's jump into his pros. 6 foot, 208 pounds is where we start with his pros. That size, good NFL safety size in this league. Athleticism is the next pro. 4'6", 140 with a 37-inch vert. I know those numbers don't necessarily blow you away with some of the athletes that we've seen come through the NFL draft, especially in this particular draft, where some of these athletes, especially at the safety position, were just mind-boggling. It doesn't matter. This guy is athletic. Don't let 4'6", fool you into thinking that that's not fast, because you see guys like Adams, Jamal Adams, or a guy like Malik Hooker running in the sub 4.5 range. 4'6" is really good for a safety, and this is a guy that can move. 37-inch vert. It just gives you a little bit of the explosiveness that he has and he possesses, and he's very comfortable moving out of space, which is my next a couple of pros have to do with his ability to move. First things first, his quickness and change of direction, phenomenal, okay? And when you're talking about a safety that has the potential to play single high safety, that has the potential to do a number of things on the field, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, you want guys that don't waste a lot of motion, that don't have a problem flipping their hips, changing directions, sticking their foot in the ground, and pivoting and turning and going, because again, as a defender, you don't know where the receiver is going. You have to react to what he's doing. You have to have good reactionary skills, and this guy has quickness and the ability to change direction. He's comfortable in space, and I kind of mentioned that and alluded to that earlier, but just to go in depth a little bit, he does a great job of being out in space and navigating the field. I've talked about other safeties who kind of get lost out in space. They kind of are in no man's land. When the play starts to kind of take shape, they really don't know where they are. There's guys running behind them when they're supposed to be the last line of defense. They're kind of drifting up and they're just really not doing much of anything in the play. Whereas a guy like John Johnson, really comfortable in space, knows where he is on the football field, has a really good feel of spatial awareness and where he needs to be on a particular play. And again, he's comfortable flipping his hips, turning, running with receivers, with tight ends. And so he's very, very comfortable in space. And when you're that comfortable in space, when your change of direction is that good, when you possess quickness, when you're a good athlete, it all leads to you having the ability to have coverage ability. And that's the next pro. He's really good in coverage. This is a guy that can do a number of things for you. And speaking of which, let's jump into that pro as well. This guy is extremely versatile, all right? You're talking about a guy that can play corner, all right? Was an ex-corner at Boston College before moving over to safety. This is a guy that can play over the slot. You see him do that and do it very, very well, very comfortably, as a matter of fact. So you're talking about a guy that can play corner, can play safety, can play over the slot. And then this is the big kicker here, can play single high safety. Now it takes a special individual to be able to play single high safety because you got to have range, got to have instincts, you got to have ball skills, which is the final pro here with John Johnson, or one of the final pros, I should say. A guy that had 6 career interceptions, will go up and get the football. You see him making plays on the ball, very comfortable. Again, ex-cornerback, not afraid to go get his hands on the football and make some plays. He's a reliable tackler. And again, to be a single high safety, not only do you have to have ball skills and have range and be able to get from point A to point B in a very efficient manner, but you also have to be able to get guys on the ground as a single high safety. You are the last line of defense. You are the last guy on the defense to stop a player from getting into the end zone. So you must be a guy that can get other players on the offensive side of the football on the ground, and John Johnson can do that. Again, doesn't always amount to the prettiest thing you've ever seen. It's not aesthetically pleasing all the time. I don't give a damn as long as the end result is man with ball on ground. And that's generally what you get when John Johnson goes in for a tackle. Special teams value is the final pro. Worst thing comes to worst. Here in this situation with this guy, let's say, doesn't work out as a great safety for you, you're going to get a guy that's going to be a core special teamer for you for the next 3 to 4 seasons in Los Angeles. So at least you know you're getting a guy that's going to help you on special teams if all else fails. But I think this guy's got everything you need to have him come in and be an exceptional starting safety for you in the National Football League. Let's go to his cons. He doesn't drive on the ball aggressively enough for my liking. For a guy that has all of the skill sets that I've mentioned, a guy that is quick change of direction, a guy that is comfortable in space, a guy that's an ex-corner, I'd like to see him be a little bit more aggressive. I'm watching him against Virginia Tech and Bucky Hodges, and I'm thinking he's just giving up some things underneath in front of him on some post routes. Now, he did contest very well, but he's giving up some things in front of him, and I'm saying to myself, you can go make a play there. You don't have to wait until the receiver gets his hands on the ball to then go drive and try to knock the football away and dislodge it. You can actually go and be aggressive. You can go and make a play on that football. I think sometimes he's more comfortable seeing things develop in front of him and then reacting instead of being proactive. I'd like to see him drive on the football a little bit more aggressively and be a little bit more proactive and try to make some plays. And finally, he can be lulled to sleep as a single high safety. There's a play against Virginia Tech where he gives up a deep ball over the top and there's a corner expecting help over the top from the safety, and he's just there late because he fell asleep behind the wheel. He got mesmerized by the quarterback and kind of trying to see where the quarterback was going to go with the football, and all of a sudden, he lets the receiver who's on the outside win on a post route over the top where he should have been there to either pick that pass off or break it up, and instead it ended up being a touchdown. So he can be lulled to sleep. And again, that's just one of those situations where you just need to be cognizant of what's going on around you. Don't let anybody behind you as a single high safety. I feel confident that he's a guy that will keep everything in front of him for the most part, gonna make tackles and be a guy that you can trust to get players on the ground, gonna make plays on the football. You can use him all over the field, single high safety, cover two, half of the field safety, a guy that can come over and drop over the slot, play out wide if need be, in case, you know, this is a league where now the tight ends are flexing out more than ever. You need athletic safeties that can go out there with them and check them man to man. And so this is a guy that I think can do all of those things and then some. And they also sprinkled in a little bit of special teams value for a guy that I really like. And I think he's an underrated player in this draft in the 3rd round, 91st overall selection. Boston College safety John Johnson for me is a triple. I think this guy brings a lot to the table, and when you watch him, you become more and more impressed. And just to round everything off and kind of bring everything together, his coach says that this is the model citizen. He says one day this man is going to have his face on money. That's how good of a person he is. Just forget about the football player, but that's just how good of a man he is. And you need those types of guys in your locker room as well. And so John Johnson for me is just the all-around type of guy you're looking for on your football team. He's a triple for me as we move on to the 4th round with this Los Angeles Rams draft. The 117th overall selection, Texas A&M wide receiver Josh Reynolds is the selection. This is a guy that is long, he's lanky, he's athletic. Let's break him down. 6'3", 194 pounds is where we start with him as far as his pros are concerned. His size. In this day and age in the National Football League, size is king at the receiver position. You get a guy that's 6'2" or better, and now you're cooking with some gasoline. Now you've got a guy that can present mismatches. Now again, the cornerback position is starting to catch up in terms of size. We're seeing these 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" corners come in a lot more prevalently than we did in the past, but the receivers are still much more in numbers in terms of size than the corners. And this is a guy that's going to help you win in that regard, especially in the red zone where you're looking for a target to just throw the football up to. This is a guy that was a high jumper and a triple jumper in high school. So you add to the fact that this guy is 6'3" and he's a guy that can leap. Now you're talking about a guy that's going to present problems when you get into the red zone and you're looking to punch the football in to the end zone. Athleticism, speaking of which, I talked about his size, being 6'3", and having that frame that's going to give the quarterback a big radius to throw the football to him. We'll talk about that here in a second. But let's talk about this guy's athleticism. 4'5", 240 to go along with that 6'3" frame. You're talking about a 37-inch vertical, and I talked about him being a high jumper and a triple jumper in high school. And then here's a guy with a 10'3" broad. So again, the explosiveness on display. And don't let that 4'5", 240 fool you. This guy plays much faster than that. I'm seeing this guy run, and again, this is SEC football we're talking about here. Not talking about the AAC. We're not talking about the MAC conference. We're talking about the SEC. There's athletes littered all over the football field, and this guy's running by corners and safeties in the SEC on a consistent basis. He plays faster than that 4.52. Believe me. Solid hands, okay? We're gonna talk more about his hands a little bit later on in the breakdown, but just know he's got solid hands. He can catch the football with his hands. I think he's more comfortable catching the football in some weird ways where, you know, the rule was always above your chest, thumbs together, below your chest, you can put your pinkies together. He's a guy that, and there was only one guy that I saw do this at a high clip and didn't have any problems catching. That was Randy Moss. Randy Moss would catch a slant, pinkies together instead of thumbs. Okay, Randy Moss was the guy that he didn't like catching the football here. Randy was more comfortable catching it like this, but he made a living off of doing that. A lot of guys in this league aren't able to do that. That's when you see drops happen. And this is a guy that you'll see that from time to time. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but he's got solid hands. Catch radius at 6'3", with the leaping ability that he has, can go up and climb the ladder, gives you a great catch radius. And for a guy like Jared Goff that sometimes struggles with accuracy, the bigger the receiver, the bigger the catch radius, the better for your quarterback. Physicality. For a guy with a 194-pound frame, you don't expect physicality to be one of his strengths, but it is, in fact, one of his strengths. If you watch this guy get off the line of scrimmage, he's a bully sometimes. I mean, he'll come off when he's looking to run a slant. His first move, if you're trying to press him at the line, is he'll put hands on that DB, chuck him about 2 or 3 yards off, give him a stick to the outside, and then get inside. And it's a beautiful thing to watch a guy that small be physical, because again, the first thing you think of when you see Josh Reynolds, if you're a corner, is like, I'm gonna get up in this guy's face, lay hands on him, be aggressive with him, make him uncomfortable. I'm gonna get in his face, all right? And Josh Reynolds lets you know right off the bat, it ain't that type of party, homeboy. If you think you're gonna come in my face and punk me because I'm a little slender, you got another thing coming. And so there's a little bit of physicality. He's not afraid to go over the middle and run the tough, nasty, dirty routes, the dig routes, the slants, the hook routes over the middle of the football field, the draggers. He's not afraid to go over the middle of the field, sit down in zone coverage, knowing a hit is coming. He's a physical guy. Deep threat, all right? He can and will take the top off the defense. I mentioned that 4.5, 240, that he plays a lot faster than that. And once he gets to top speed, he's a build-up speed guy. Once he gets to top speed, that 4.52 turns into a 4.45, okay? He's moving. All right, and I've seen him run past corners. I've seen him eat up cushions of safeties. I've seen him be a dynamic threat down the field and in the passing game, and a guy that can take the top off the defense. So I fully expect him to be much of the same at the next level. That speed, that length, he's a strider. All of those things translate to the National Football League and the NFL game. And again, playing in the SEC, I know that is legit speed that I'm seeing from Josh Reynolds on a consistent basis. Red zone target is the next pro. 30 touchdowns over the last 3 seasons at Texas A&M. This is a guy that continuously got into the end zone. His first season at A&M set a school record for the most touchdowns in school history from a receiver with 13. Okay, that just gives you a little bit of framework which to work with as to how this guy can impact your football team. Last season in 2016 followed up a subpar touchdown season with only 5 in 2015 with 12 in 2016. So you're talking about 2 out of the 3 seasons at College Station. This man put up 25 touchdowns, double-digit touchdowns in 2 of his 3 seasons. Big time production, getting in the end zone, whether it's from 50 yards out on a catch and run on a bomb, or it's from 7 yards out on a fade route where he goes up and puts his nutsack on the helmet of a defender. This is a guy that can get it done for you and get in to the end zone. And then finally, he's a WWF-effer, and all that stands for is he'll work for food, all right? Will work for food as a receiver. You want to eat, you got to go out and work for yours, and he's willing to get physical and dirty, roll his sleeves up, and be a man in the run game and block and do what he needs to do, whether it's a bubble screen, whether he's blocking for a running back. He's willing to get his hands dirty. He's willing to work for food, and as a receiver, you want to eat, you got to go out and work for yours. He's willing to do that. So you go from his pros to his cons. He's thin framed. At 194 pounds, that would be fine if he was 6 feet tall. He's 6'3". When you're a 6'3" guy, you're supposed to be 210, 215 pounds. That's not the case here. So yeah, he's going to need to put on a little bit of weight. And I expect him to at least get to 200 pounds. Now, I don't know if he's got that much more to put on his frame. I think that's just how he's built. I don't know if this guy can get to 205 pounds. 200 may even be stretching for him. I expect them to put a little bit of weight on him though, and hopefully he doesn't lose any of his explosiveness and his dynamic ability with those extra pounds that he potentially is looking to put on. No real wiggle is the next con. This isn't a guy that's going to make you miss out in space, okay? He's not going to catch a slant and give a juke move to a linebacker, spin on a safety, and take off to the races for a 69-yard touchdown. He's not built like that. He's the type of guy, he's going to catch a slant. He may outrun the corner, but if the safety takes a proper angle, he's going to get him down on the ground. He's the type of guy that, yeah, he'll beat you deep. But if he catches a dig route with a little bit of space in stride, if, again, the safety has an angle, he's going to probably run him out of bounds, okay? He's not the type of guy that's going to stick his foot in the ground, give a juke move, spin on somebody, stiff arm another guy, and find his way to the end zone. It's just not how he's built. He's not a guy with a lot of wiggle. The yards after catch just comes from pure unadulterated speed and the ability to just run, not necessarily making guys miss out of space. And then finally, he struggles with the dropsies, okay? Look. He can catch the football. I told you he has solid hands. Doesn't have good hands, doesn't have great hands, solid hands. You'll see him on a third down, run a curl, come back to the football. He's got the first down, but he forgot the most important thing. And again, you know my mantra, you know my motto. You can't run and gun, you can't have fun, you can't ball without the ball. And sometimes he forgets, oh yeah, that thing, I need to catch that first before I go and make a play. And so you'll see him, I told you, he's one of these guys likes to put pinkies together. And I'm not comfortable with the pinkies together on a pass up above the chest. I want to see thumbs together here, not here. He's a guy that's comfortable, and he'll catch it like that. But every now and again, it'll go right through the wickets. So just know that on 3rd and 7, you may get a drop every now and again, but the guy makes way more plays than he does drops. In the 4th round, 117th overall selection, Texas A&M wide receiver Josh Reynolds for me is a triple, man. I really think he's going to come in, and again, for a team, and this is how you know that Sean McVay, your head coach, was not impressed with what you already had in the cupboard at receiver. The first 4 picks of your draft, 3 of them are offensive skill players, not to mention going out in free agency and getting Robert Woods. Your wide receiving core has been revamped already. 2 of those guys drafted going to see a lot of playing time in their rookie seasons. Not to mention, you're bringing in Robert Woods, who's going to probably be your number 2 receiver. And then you still got Tavon Austin. So you're starting to see this thing come together. Not a lot of space for some of those guys that were on the roster before. And then, of course, Kenny Britt leaving for greener pastures. So this is a guy that I really like in Josh Reynolds. I think he's going to come in and help you. And I think he can have a profound impact in year number 1. You go to the next 4th round pick, 125th overall, Eastern Washington edge rusher, Samson Ebukam is the pick. And you can tell that you had a few scouts out in Eastern Washington because it's a smaller school, yet you have drafted 2 players out of your first 5 picks from a very small school in Eastern Washington. And this is another athlete here that we're talking about. Let's start with his pros. Let's start there. It's a height, weight, speed specimen, folks. 6'3", 240, 4'4", 40, 39-inch vert, okay? So right there, I'm telling you that this is a special athlete. He's a physical specimen. And right there, off the cuff, you know you're dealing with a height, weight, speed specimen, okay? Explosiveness and twitchiness is the next pro. And this is one of those guys where you just watch him and right off the first time you see him rush, you say, wow, that guy's explosive, okay? He's not necessarily going anywhere, but boy, is he twitchy, boy, is he explosive, all right? And you see that every single time this man rushes, all right? He looks the part of a guy that can blow right by your left tackle, right by your right tackle, okay? Right up your A-gap. He looks the part of a guy that if you don't put a finger on him, your quarterback's going down and going down hard. He's got that explosiveness to him. He's got the ability, it seems, with that 4.45 speed, he's got the ability to turn the corner and beat a tackle who isn't ready out of his stance to put hands on a guy like Samson Ebukam. So this is a guy that is very explosive, very twitchy. That is for certain. And that's going to be a theme. If you know anything about your new defensive coordinator, Wade Phillips, he loves twitchiness, he loves explosiveness, he loves dynamic ability off the edge. You look at the Denver Broncos and what they were able to do. They were able to throw rushers at you in waves. Von Miller, could come and give it to you any way you wanted it. You could also get DeMarcus Ware to give it to you off the edge. Then he would come with guys that would be reserves off the bench. Shane Ray could give it to you. They had other guys that would come off the bench like Shaq Barrett. They came in waves, in drones, and that's what they're looking for. Twitchy edge rushers that are explosive, that can get up the field. They had guys on the interior in Denver with the Broncos when they were at their best defensively that could get up the field. In Wolf and company down there, when Malik Jackson was there, they could get after you from multiple ways, and it was all about explosiveness and twitchiness, and that's what you're seeing here with a guy like Samson Ebukam. Maximum effort guy. Every single snap, this man is playing like it's his last snap. I don't know if I've watched a guy on tape this year that gives as much effort on every single snap as Samson Ebukam does. Look, I'll tell you this much. There are plays where this man is going exactly nowhere and fast. But I'll tell you this much, he's going 110 miles an hour nowhere. And I'll tell you this, when you get a guy giving you that much effort on every single snap, good things are bound to happen. All right. Even if you're rushing nowhere, even if that tackle has you bottled up and you're fighting like hell, and all of a sudden that quarterback spins out of the pocket because the pocket is collapsing and you're fighting your ass off. Next thing you know, here comes a sack your way. Or maybe you're fighting and you're not going anywhere, but the quarterback gets hit. A ball comes out, and because you're fighting, you see the football, you scoop it up, and you score. That's the type of player you have here. A guy that just gives you maximum effort each and every single snap. Never saw this guy take a play off. High football IQ. All right, this is a guy not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. You're not going to have this guy running and chasing his tail on play action fake. You're not going to have him have a tight end block down and then leak out into the flats. He's smarter than that. He sees what's going on. I watched him on the play. Tackle tries to cut him. They're trying to set up screen. He reads what's going on, runs with the running back, picks the ball up. Okay? High football IQ player. You're not going to trick this guy with something simple. If you're going to get him, it's going to have to be with something complex. It's not going to be something simple like a guy coming across the field in motion, and instead of blocking, he goes to block and he fakes and he runs out into the flats. Not happening with Samson Ebukam. Versatility. This guy played everywhere, and I mean everywhere, at Eastern Washington. He stood up in a two-point stance, which, again, you're going to be seeing much of a change in Los Angeles with this defense, more of a 3-4 front. But again, you play a ton of nickel in this league because of the different offensives that you're going to see in offensive sets. A lot of 3 and 4 and 5 receiver sets nowadays. So you're going to be in nickel a ton. So don't pay too much attention to the 3-4 change, but just know that you need guys that can stand up and rush the passer. And he's a guy that can stand up in a 2-point stance. He can put his hand in the dirt in a 3-point stance. So right there, you get a rush outside linebacker and a defensive end. All right. So also they lined him up inside as an inside backer, and he started off as an inside backer before moving outside to edge rusher. So this is a guy that blitzed from the A gap and inside, did a phenomenal job doing that. He's also a guy that can drop into coverage and is extremely comfortable doing so. Flips his hips out of his face. He's not a fish out of water. He's a guy that's very comfortable dropping into zone coverages. So again, very versatile football player here in Samson Ebukam. And then finally, upside. To me, you draft this guy in the 4th round because of upside. His numbers didn't blow you away at Eastern Washington, all right? But you saw a guy on tape that possesses some skills that you just can't teach. This guy's 6'3", 240, but running a 4.45, okay? You can't teach that. Either you do or you don't, all right? This guy's got a 39-inch vert. So that shows explosiveness. Either you do or you don't. This guy gives you maximum effort. There's upside here that hasn't been tapped into. And I think they feel like we get our hands on him, we get the right coaching with this kid, we could turn him into a football player that is extremely productive at the next level. So I think the upside is why you spend a 4th round pick on Samson Ebukam. And let's go to his cons though. He's OC. And if you don't know what OC means, it means out of control. All right. He is OC. This man, I told you, doesn't take a snap off, plays with maximum effort, but this guy is out of control a lot of times. If you can just harness what this man, this energy that this man is bringing, snap in, snap out, you can just reel him in and get him to focus and get him to do something that's constructive on a snap in, snap out basis, you can have something here. But this guy is everywhere. His hands are flailing. His legs are going so fast that sometimes he can't even control where the hell he's going. He's OC. And if you can reel him in, you got yourself a hell of a football player potentially down the line. Right now, the next con is that he's athleticism over technique. And if you're an old hip hop head like myself, you remember the Rakim and Eric B song, Don't Sweat the Technique. Well, right now we're sweating the technique because there is none. All right, he's not using any type of technique to get to the quarterback. There's no rush plan. Speaking of which, that's another con. There's no rush plan involved here. There's no technique. He's not looking to set a guy up. He's just trying to get to the quarterback however the hell he can get to him on that particular play. A lot of times it's just a straight bull rush or it's just pure speed on the edge. And then I'm just going to just try to slap the hell out of him. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just trying to be a tough guy. I'm trying to use my athleticism to get where I'm going. And he's got to be better than that. And again, he just doesn't know any better. He hasn't been taught. So at the next level, they got to teach him some technique. They got to teach him how to set up a tackle. They got to teach him the finer points and the nuances of being a pass rusher at the next level, because right now, it's not what he is. He's not a polished edge rusher. But in time, he could potentially be that down the road. And then finally, he needs karate lessons. Does not use his hands well at all. And the elite pass rushers in this league use their hands very dominantly, okay? And even if it's just a quick slap down of the hands, you need hands to be effective at this level, okay? Everyone's athletic. Most guys are long. Most guys are strong. You got to find ways to defeat that. And the way to do it in this league is by hands. Unless you're an explosive edge rusher that can win with just pure unadulterated speed, which he has the potential to do, you still need hands, however, okay? He doesn't have that right now. So he needs to develop that. But again, upside is what this pick is. For me, up and down all day long. This is an upside selection in the 4th round, 125th overall selection. Eastern Washington edge rusher, Samson Abuham, for me is a double. A lot of this stuff that he possesses, you can't teach. And it's great to have, but unless you harness this correctly and you sculpt this guy into the football player that you need him to be, it's just all upside. It's just all potential. And so a wise man once told me, son, your potential is going to get me fired. We'll see what this guy's able to provide for Wade Phillips in this defense in the next few years, because this isn't a pick that I expect to pay off huge dividends in year 1, but maybe year 2, year 3, you start to really see what this guy can be for you as an edge rusher or an inside linebacker, however they choose to use him. You go to the 6th round, 189th overall selection, Tulane defensive lineman Tanzel Smart is the pick. 6'1", 296 pounds. First pro is quickness. This is a guy that is extremely quick off the snap, which leads me right into my next pro, penetrating disruptor. All right, this is a guy that when you watch him, the first thing that jumps off the screen at you is this guy gets into the backfield and he's looking to make a mess of things. And even if it's not him making the play, he's just looking to blow some things up. And he'll get in the backfield and he'll do exactly that. Speaking of which, he can collapse the pocket. He's a guy that at 6'1", usually going to win the leverage battles, low center of gravity. So he's already at an advantage in terms of if he's able to get up under the pads of a 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" offensive lineman, he's going to win the leverage battle and have an opportunity to really do some damage and collapse the pocket. It's a high motor, consistent energy guy. So that's the next pro. Much like Samson Abuham, this is a guy that I just see giving maximum effort, snap in, snap out. He's chasing plays down on the backside, even if he's not there in time. Again, I want the guy that's going to show up to the party late. It's better to be late, that's still great, than a guy that just never shows up at all. You never know what's going to happen on the play. If a guy's going to cut it back and find green grass, you want guys hustling on the backside to clean it up. And he's the type of guy that will do exactly that. So consistent activity, high motor is what you get from Tanzel Smart. Plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage. I talked about him being a penetrating disruptor. Here's the proof. 40 career tackles for loss in his career. The last 2 years at Tulane for the Green Wave, 18.5 and 15 tackles for loss, respectively, in the last 2 seasons. So this is a guy playing on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage, making tackles, making his presence felt. And so this was a good Tulane football team. Or no, I take that back. They were actually pretty bad. But he was one of the bright spots on that defense, keeping them in some ball games that they actually had a chance to win, and they just weren't good enough to get it done late stages of ball games. But he also, and this is the final pro, can pressure the quarterback. 5 sacks, a career high for him last season in 2016. This is a guy that can get pressure, can get to the quarterback. Like I told you, very quick off the snap. Really good swim move, good penetrator. This is a guy that I think you could see in some nickel situations come into the game and really create some havoc. You know, when Wade is looking to get after the quarterback, you can see a guy like Tanzel Smart, if he makes this roster, being someone that could be in on some nickel packages and get on the field and maybe get to the quarterback. You go to his cons. His frame. Normally I say size is the first pro. That wasn't the case with him because he's 6'1", as a defensive tackle, which, okay, you say, wait, Aaron Donald is 6 foot. All right, difference is Aaron Donald has elite quickness, hand usage, and his arms aren't as short. This guy's frame is a little disproportionate, especially his arms. And what you'll find with him is guys that have longer arms who are able to contact him first, give him a little jab, kind of stab him with a punch, can keep him at bay. And when he loses badly, generally that's what happens. He's knocked off balance by a punch initially, and he's not able to restart and get up the field. You know, he's a guy that wins quick. He does his work early. And when he doesn't win initially, when a guy's able to use length to punch him and keep him at bay, it's not really much Tanzel Smart can do on that particular play. He's got limited redirect. He doesn't change directions well. Again, that's all part of that size. He's got short, stubby legs. So when he stops, it takes him a while to start up again and move in a different direction. So that doesn't really bode well for him making tackles once the running back crosses the line of scrimmage again. When he's going forward and he's attacking the line of scrimmage, he's a problem. But when that running back starts to attack him, gives him a little shake, hard for him to change directions and go after that running back. It's just not in his DNA. And finally, he played in the AAC, okay? Look, you're not seeing a ton of NFL caliber offensive linemen in the AAC, okay? You're playing against Memphis and Central Florida and South Florida. You're not getting a ton of NFL talent, all right? It just is what it is. So, you know, you didn't get a lot of guys in front of them. You know, you play Temple. Deion Dawkins was selected in the draft, but those are so few and far between when you play in the AAC. You just don't know exactly what you're going to get from Tanzel Smart moving to the next level. But in the 6th round, 189th overall selection, Tulane defensive lineman Tanzel Smart for me is a double. This guy penetrates, got a potential to get to the quarterback. I think these are the types of guys Wade Phillips is looking for as a guy that can wreak havoc, even in specific situations. Even if there's only a few packages that Tanzel Smart is a part of, I think he still may have a role in a Wade Phillips attacking aggressive defense up front. Go to the next 6th round pick, 206th overall selection made by the Los Angeles Rams. Virginia Tech fullback Sam Rogers is the pick. 5'10", 231 pounds is where we start pro-rise. That's his size. That's a good size for a fullback. You know, fullbacks are generally small, meathead guys, no neck, just physical hammerhead guys looking to barrel the way up the field and pave a way for the running back. The position is evolving because it's dying. And in order to survive, you must adapt. And so these guys are becoming better pass catchers, more adept at getting out in routes, more adept at lining up at various positions on the field and doing more. And they have to be able to do more in order to stand out. And that's what Sam Rogers did for the Virginia Tech Hokies in his career. Physicality. He's a guy that is physical. You can line him up anywhere. Just has a mentality. And that's the next pro. He's got a certain workman-like mentality. All right. In high school, he broke his arm, and instead of sitting out the remainder of the season, he switched positions so he could still help his team and played the remainder of the season. He walked on to Virginia Tech, didn't have a scholarship, and ended up being not only a team captain, but one of their most productive players throughout his 4-year career. He's that type of guy. He's got a mentality, a workman-like mentality that says, you're not going to outwork me. You may be a much better athlete than me. You may be blessed with more measurables and athleticism, and you may be more gifted than me, but you're not going to outwork me. And you see that show up with Sam Rogers on a snap-in, snap-out basis. Versatility. This guy is so versatile. He's a Swiss Army knife at the fullback position. He offers you the ability to go and catch the football as a receiver out of the backfield. He offers you the ability to pass pro, does a really good job of pick. I saw him blocking a first-round pick by the Philadelphia Eagles out of Tennessee. And I saw him block him well, okay? And that's not something you want to ask Sam Rogers to do on a consistent basis, blocking big-time edge rushers, but he can do it, all right? This guy can lead block. And oh, by the way, he can tote the rock. So you're talking about a guy that can line up anywhere on the field at receiver, at tight end, as an H-back, as a fullback, as a running back. You're talking about a guy that can pass protect, that can run block, and be a lead blocker that you can hand the rock to, and they did it each and every single year, more and more with Sam Rogers. And oh, by the way, he can catch it as well. So versatility is his strong suit. If you ask me, he's more versatile than a couple of fullbacks that we saw last season be drafted in Watt that went to the Chargers, and Andy Janovich of the Denver Broncos last season. So I think he's a much more versatile fullback than both of those guys who were drafted a season ago. And then finally, productivity is my final pro with him. It increased each and every single year at Virginia Tech. More touches, more carries, more catches, more involved in the offense. Again, we're talking about a guy that walked on at Virginia Tech, and then each and every single year saw his carries and catches increase and his production and productivity increase, which shows that this guy got better and better each and every single year. You go from there to his cons. Short arms. And the only problem with the short arms with Sam Rogers is that he does not sustain blocks well. So if he runs into a defender, and most defenders are going to be longer than him, that is able to kind of just extend, they are able to keep him at bay. And when the running back comes, when the receiver comes, they're able to discard him because they got the length advantage. They can extend those arms and disengage. And a lot of times what you'll find with Sam Rogers is that he doesn't do a good job of sustaining blocks. He'll make contact, but he won't sustain. And so if you're a ball carrier around Sam Rogers, you need to hit it and hit it quickly because he's not going to hold that block. Now, I'd much rather have him let go than commit a holding infraction. But that being said, he does not sustain his blocks very well. And I think a lot of that is due to his short arms. And finally, he's not the greatest athlete in the world. 4'9", 340. He's not going to explode on you and run away from any defenders or anything of the sort. But what he will do is he'll get into the flat. He'll be crafty. He'll be very sneaky. He'll block and then he'll kind of delay out into the flats. He'll come across the motion. They'll run a couple of rub routes. He'll sneak out into the flats. He's got really soft, good hands. Catches the football, and he'll get up the field, and if you allow him to, he'll get into the end zone. He's a jack of all trades. I like what he brings to the table. In the 6th round, 206th overall selection. Va-Tech fullback, Sam Rogers for me is a double. I think he brings a lot of intangibles to the football field, and I think he's a guy that in a league where the fullback position is dying, I think he's a guy that can come in and actually help the fullback position and help this team at the fullback position. And then finally, the final pick in this Rams draft, 7th round, 234th overall selection. Pitt edge rusher Juan Price is the selection. You're gonna hear a lot of the same comments. There's a theme here with Wade Phillips and his edge rushers. And so if this guy who has immense potential, immense talent, I'm going to give you a couple of comps a little bit later down the road. If this guy can stay healthy and give you what you saw on tape the last 2 years, he's going to make the squad. It's not a question of him making the squad. It's just how much of an impact is he going to have year one. Let's jump into his pros. Explosiveness and twitchiness. First pro. Doesn't that sound familiar? I've said that at least 2 or 3 times throughout this breakdown, especially when talking about Samson and Bucom. Edge rushers for Wade Phillips have to be explosive and twitchy. If you're going to play on the edge, you got to be a guy that can get up the field and create havoc. And Juan Price can do that, man. I'll tell you what, he had some of the funnest tape to watch as far as edge rushing is concerned, just from the standpoint of this guy can get up the field and make things happen. All right, he's got quickness. That's the next pro. And my best example of that, you watch the North Carolina game, very first play. All right, Carolina's backed up deep in their own territory. They try to run a sweep to the outside, and he breaks inside, uses a quick swim move to get into the backfield, tackles the running back in the end zone, tries to get the football across the goal line, doesn't succeed. It's a safety. And that's all Juan Price. All quickness, all ability to get up the field and make something happen. That's that explosiveness, that quickness, all rolled into one. Plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage. And I just explained a play in which he makes a tackle for loss that results in a safety. So that just gives you a little bit of insight as to what this guy brings to the table. 39.5 tackles for loss over his career, well, over the last 2 seasons. We're going to talk about why the last 2 seasons were so important with Juan Price a little bit later on, but 39.5 tackles for loss over the last 2 seasons. It's a ton of tackles. So you're talking about basically 20 a season over the last 2 years. Man was putting in work. Pass rush ability is the next pro. Here's a guy, 24.5 sacks over the last 2 seasons. Again, you're talking about a guy bagging quarterbacks in a league where it is imperative that you get to the quarterback. This was a guy that was bagging quarterbacks. 24.5 sacks over the last 2 seasons. 13 this past season, 11.5 the season previous. So this is a guy getting to the quarterback on a consistent basis. Bag of tricks. Okay, so we talk about him getting to the quarterback. Well, how does he do it? Does he do it with 1 or 2 moves? Or is this a guy that comes with a steady diet of moves that keeps a tackle off balance and guessing? If you went with the latter answer, you'd be correct. He comes with a bull rush. He comes with an explosive speed rush. Okay, so the bull rush means he's converting speed to power. All right, but just when you're thinking, okay, he's either coming with speed or he's coming with power, he can come with the finesse. He's got a beautiful stutter, little stutter, shimmy, and then he'll go inside or he'll go outside so he can shake you there. And then he's got a gorgeous spin move. And when he pulls it out, you better be ready, because if you're not, he's gonna beat you. And it's not one of these spin moves that spins like a top in space. When he spins, it's getting up the field, it's gaining ground, getting closer to the quarterback. It's a thing of beauty. And not only is it a spin move that can work off the snap, it's a spin that he uses as a counter. So let's say he rushes up the field and it doesn't work initially. He will come with a counter spin that is out of this world. It is a beautiful thing to watch. So this guy can give you a number of moves. He's got a bag of tricks. He's dangerous, okay? Finally, he's versatile as a rusher. He can give you the 2-point stance, stand up as an outside linebacker, edge rusher, rush, or he can go in a 3-point stance, hand in the dirt, and be a traditional defensive end. So gives you a little bit of versatility there. And again, Wade Phillips loves to do a number of different things with guys that are rushing. So that versatility there is going to help him, I think, make this roster, because again, if he's healthy, Juan Price is making this football team. All right, he's making this football team. Let's go to his cons quickly. Size. All right, he's in the James Harrison, Elvis Dumervil mold. And I think he's got a potential to be both of those guys. He looks the part. I don't think he's as strong as James Harrison, but I think he's just as quick and explosive and dynamic as Elvis Dumervil. Now, you don't go off of the 40 time or any of that nonsense. I'm just talking about pure explosiveness off the snap. he's got Elvis Dumervil written all over him. If you're talking about from a persistence and ability to get to the quarterback, you're talking James Harrison, you're talking Elvis Dumervil with that size. But again, size is a limitation because longer guys get their hands on him, and it's hard for him to then win on particular snaps with his size. He's a backside loafer. And I don't know if it's as much of him loafing on the backside or is it just he's tired. Because this is a guy that's giving maximum effort on every rush. But when the play goes away from him, he's not that anxious. He's not that zealous to get over and help his teammates out. I watched him against Virginia Tech. When they throw a bubble screen to the outside, and I'm like, bro, that bubble screen is to your side. Get out there. And he's like, that's a little bit out there. That's out at the numbers. I'm kind of at the hash. I'm gonna let the DB handle that. And if he can't, then the safety gonna have to help. But I'm not going out there. So he can be a little bit of a backside loafer. And even when the play is on his side, on the play side, he can sometimes be a guy that's like, kind of preserve my energy and kind of save the little bit of gas I got left in the tank going after the quarterback, if you don't mind. I actually do mind. And finally, injury history. To me, this is why this guy, in addition to his size, this is why this guy is a 7th round pick. His injury history. This is a guy that was in college for 6 years. His first year at Pitt was 2011. Then in 2012, he misses the entire season with a pec injury. Comes back in 2013, misses half of the season with a back injury. Then comes back in 2014, misses the entire season, gets a medical redshirt clearance, an emergency redshirt in 2014 because he has a chest injury that keeps him out for the entire year, but then comes back 2015, lights it up with 11.5 sacks. Then 16 follows that up with another healthy campaign and another 13 sacks. So the last 2 years, if there are any indication of what you're getting in the future, this is a guy that could be a stud for you at the next level. You're hoping that the injury concerns are behind him. You can never be too sure. This guy's got Elvis Dumervil, James Harrison written all over him. He's explosive. He's dynamic. He can get to the quarterback. He's stout at the point of attack. He's physical. I like him. I like him a lot. And in the 7th round, Pitt edge rusher Juan Price for me is a double. The only reason he's not a triple in the final round of this draft is because of those injuries. They scared the hell out of me. And anytime you tear a pec, and I think that chest injury had a little bit to do with the pec tear. You're more susceptible to doing it again if he could just steer clear of the injuries. This guy is no doubt a triple in the 7th round. I really like what this guy brings to the table. So with that being said, let's look at this Rams draft. This is an impressive draft. I think you look at the new coaching staff and you see their imprint all over this draft. If you're talking about your new head coach, Sean McVay, you go out and you go get skilled guys that are going to come in and help enhance his offense right away. Then you look at Wade Phillips on the opposite side of the football, and you look at explosive, dynamic rushers and guys that can help on the defensive side of the football. And I say they got their hands all over this draft. Let's tally up the scores quickly. You got a home run with your first pick of South Alabama tight end Gerald Everett. You got 3 triples, which nets you a triples bonus. Then you have 4 doubles, which equals 2 doubles bonuses. You tally all of that up. It's 30 points altogether. You divide by the number of picks, which was 8 in this draft, and you land yourself a 3.75 triple. A phenomenal score. Might be the highest one we've had thus far in this draft wrap-up series. It was a really good draft. Really, really impressed with what they were able to do despite not having a first-round pick. So this is going to do for the Los Angeles Rams in their 2017 NFL Draft. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and let's continue to break down these teams. I just got one question for you, man. Who's next?